Robin Arzón here. Thank you for joining. Welcome back. If you're new to my YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe. I am so excited for today's topic. Y'all submitted questions asking about career change and different aspects of career change. So a little background about me. I am now at Peloton. I have been for years, but before that I was actually a lawyer. So I am a reformed lawyer. I had quite the career change in my early 30s, and we're going to talk about my own experience anecdotally and what advice I can give and draw from that experience in creating a new career from law to becoming a leader in the wellness space. So first question. I'm not sure if I love my job. What are some telltale signs that you need a real change? So that's when you have to kind of zoom out and look at how you feel at the end of most days, most weeks. Every single job is gonna have an aspect of hustle that we might not necessarily love. But just like any meaningful relationship in your life, if most of the time it's negative, it's not nourishing, it's leeching energy rather than giving it, that is when you have to have that kind of internal audit of your internal conversation. When I was a lawyer, I did an audit of 3 things that allowed me to kind of assess where I was, where I wanted to be, and what skills and resources that I might need to make the change. So the 3 pillars for me were I did a spiritual audit, kind of like where's my energy, how I was feeling. I did a financial audit to see how my finances would be affected when I left my law firm. And then I did more of a practical like process audit. It was like, how was I spending my days? Where could I optimize my time in order to even devote any energy or time to, which of course is a very, very finite resource for us. Time is our most valuable currency. So that kind of third bucket was literally looking at my day and asking myself, where can I optimize in order to really do this exploration? Because that career change and assessing whether you're really happy in a job requires carving out enough perspective and a little bit of even distance to say, am I having a bad day? Am I having a bad month? Or is this going on long enough that maybe I made the wrong choice in that partnership? And then you dig a little deeper and you ask, is this the wrong employer, right industry? Or is this the wrong industry altogether? Or is my role, is it the right industry, but my role is wrong? So there are lots of ways that you can slice it, but it does require giving it a little bit of time. And if you've given it time, then it requires zooming out and asking yourself, how do I feel most of the time? And a truly impassioned career, I would say, is filled with meaningful work most of the time. There's always going to be stuff that we don't want to do. There's always going to be stuff that makes us tired or feels tedious. But most of the time, I think when you're in alignment, you feel really good about what you're doing. How did you get over the fear of failure, change, and the general unknown? Well, thankfully, I was already running marathons and ultra marathons when I decided to plot my departure from law. And I actually think the physicality of that gave me confidence, because when you pick up a dumbbell or weight for the first time, or when you run a distance for the first time, of course there's fear and there's trepidation, but then at the finish line, you gain confidence on the other end. So for me, that was where I drew my power. I encourage you to look at aspects of your life, remind yourself of moments of your life when you rose above, when you pivoted, when you leveled up. It doesn't necessarily need to be career related. And I do think movement is medicine. Movement is fertilizer for the brain. So if you don't have a movement practice, if you don't have a fitness regimen, I highly recommend starting that, because that is a well for confidence. And to use fear as fuel, ultimately, we need to focus on the moments where we feel confident and use that kind of to bolster ourselves. bolster our spirits. How did you know the time was right? How did you know what your new path would be? Was there an aha moment? Listen, there's no right time to completely rearrange your life. There is never gonna be a good time to get uncomfortable. There is never gonna be a good time to leave a really important relationship, because that's what it is. A working relationship with an employer is a significant one that we depend on financially, and also it's an emotional connection in a lot of cases. So there isn't gonna be a right time. So just scrap that altogether. For me, there was no one single aha moment. It was really a 2-year kind of slow process where I did those audits that I mentioned, and little by little by little by little amounted to a lot. So one tip I would give you is to kind of give yourself a little bit of runway, but not too much runway, because too much runway can kind of give you this kind of inertia where you're not actually gonna make the change. I set a calendar appointment for 10 minutes a day, and in those 10 minutes every day, I plotted it a little more, and I reached out to another person, and I asked for an informational interview, and I did research on brands and other companies that I would love to work with. I chose 10 more minutes to put one more thing on my vision board. All these little things add up to a lot. So I would say minimally devote yourself 10 minutes a day to that exploration. But there isn't going to be there isn't going to be just this one moment for most of us. It's going to be a lot of little things that lead to a broader conclusion of when it's time to make the change. How do you cope with haters, friends and family who doubted you? Thankfully my friends and family, my core power posse was incredibly supportive. I am really, really grateful. My parents have always trusted my judgment. And I know that's not the case for everybody. Just like any other big decision, I've heard similar kind of inquiries when folks are planning a wedding or having a baby. Well-intentioned but misaligned advice you're likely to receive when you're on the precipice of all these life events, because folks want to help and they think they're helping. But you have to curate your scope of influence. And that's not just the folks you're texting and who you're calling and the family members that you're seeing on the weekend. It is also who you're following on social media, what kind of podcasts you're listening to, what movies you're watching. All of those things create a diet. They create a diet of information and input. And we can only handle so much before we kind of are fried. So curate a scope of influence of trusted critics. Not that everybody needs to be, saying yes to you and agreeing with what your opinion is, but you do want to listen to the trusted critic, not just the critic. And even if that happens to be your mom, your dad, your partner, you might have some tough conversations ahead, because of course those are people that are in your life for the long haul. But you don't have to stand your ground and lead with your own values. It's your life. Were you worried about not having a stable income? How did you navigate that? I'm worried about being financially stable during the transition. Totally valid. I lived below my means intentionally for that kind of 2-year process before I transitioned. And then I gave myself a 6-month runway. And I told myself, if you don't have any traction, if you don't have any leads in these next 6 months, then you have to reconsider going back to law, either at the same law firm or in a different capacity. So that was what I gave myself. But I gave myself a cushion by saving. And I didn't before I left my law firm, it was no vacations, very frugal gifts, for holidays. It was it was very lean. Not a lot of going out to eat. I really prioritized my freedom on the other side. And hampered down on my finances during that time period. And I chose an apartment in New York City that was below my means, so I knew that I wasn't going to be saddled with, a monthly payment that was out of my ability to pay once I left my well-paid law job. So that was kind of the plotting that I did. And then I gave myself an outer limit of, okay, once you've kind of lived on this amount of savings, you have to have a real audit of whether this is realistic for you. And thankfully, I was able to make some headway, and I definitely wasn't making what I was making as a lawyer, but little by little, I got myself back, and it wasn't really at any financial loss. Certainly not anymore. So, but it took time. How to show you are qualified in a new field with lack of experience. So this is when you lead with passion and when you lead with storytelling. And you have a willingness to start from zero and learn from the bottom. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours are such a poignant piece of data for us, culturally and sociologically speaking, because that is 10,000 hours. It's like, oh my gosh, it's daunting. But you just log one more and you log one more and you find people who know more than you and are smarter than you and express to them your passion and the reason for that passion. There's also humility that comes into the equation. We have to be willing to be lifetime learners and willing to put in the work and be the person who doesn't know as much, especially when you're brand new and probably for a long while after that. I sourced out a local studio in New York City, and I just expressed my passion for wanting to learn spin. And I did it while I was pitching my book and while I was doing all these other things. And I just was willing to be a beginner again, and really led with my passion and my story and a willingness to just be the lowest on the totem pole and put in the work. That's unavoidable. It's definitely unavoidable. Last few questions. How did you make connections and network in an entirely new field? You show up. You show up to the places where stuff is happening. And now virtually, digitally, that access is actually much easier. So whether it's conferences, I know we don't really have the same kind of happy hour things, but I didn't really do that. I was entering wellness, so it was showing up to the classes. It was meeting the instructors afterwards and expressing, kind of my thirst for that knowledge and appreciation for their craft. This is, I think of networking like gardening. You plant a lot of seeds intentionally, telling everyone who will listen this new passion, this new project, this new hustle of yours. And little by little, as you build your own skill base, you also start to build the number of folks who know about that skill base. And I would say do it from a genuine place. Asking to pick someone's brain is frankly annoying. How can you be of service? How can you offer skills that you already have in order to make it a mutual relationship? Networking is very similar to dating. It just doesn't have a romantic element to it. It's like you want to help the people that you like. So start to get to know the people. Plant a lot of seeds and see what grows. Last question. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, and how did you deal with it? Imposter syndrome is so common. It happens to, I think, all of us. Once you reach a certain level of success, you have to be willing to let yourself win. We have such an eye towards the dream, but sometimes you start to experience elements of the dream or the full dream, and then you start thinking, oh, I don't deserve this. Who am I? And you have to remember the hours and the hustle that it took to get there. I find that ambitious people, it's very common for us to always be looking for the next thing. It's like next finish line, next moment of hustle. And that's a good thing because we're always able to generate that momentum. But we don't often take the moment to say, wow, look how far I've come. Look what I have done. And here's just my piece of advice. If you are at the table, if you are part of the conversation, you deserve to be there. So own it. We can be our worst critics, but when we really unpack our power, our resiliency, our tenacity, and our storytelling that is uniquely ours, then you can polish your crown and say, oh, okay, I actually deserve to be here. I still have more to learn. I still have more to do. But in this moment, I deserve to be here. So remember that. Lead with power, baby. And all of you who are exploring these pivots of career changes, I get it. I've been there. We are lifetime learners. We are lifetime hustlers. And I wish you all the best in your next step. Let me know how it's going and what else I can answer for you all. Peace.